Right, I think should be live. So I'm gonna say hey to everybody, and I'm gonna basically what I'm gonna do in this thing, because I don't think anyone's ever done a Blender live stream. So I'm just checking to see if it's all okay here. Hang on a minute. I was checking to make sure that there's no echo. Hang on a minute. This is the problem with live streaming. No, there's no echo at the moment, I don't think. So, I'm going to apologise for the quality for a start. The reason why is because basically when it comes to live streaming, you need a live encoder. What that does is it uses a lot of CPU. So at 1080p, I set it at first. It was using up to, I think it was 90% of my CPU, which is quite a lot, and it's not a lot. It's not very good when you're in Blender. So I ditched 1080p and I just went straight for, I think it's 480. I think I tried 720 as well. That took about 50 to 60%. This at the moment takes about 30%, so we keep it as low as possible, which is what we want. But you can see what's going on. So right, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm not good, because in my normal tutorials what I do is I think of a scene, and then I spend a lot of time working on it and making sure that it's all perfectly fine, and then I click record and record it and do all that. Here I'm think of an idea beforehand and I stream it, and I just try and make it firsthand, see if it works, see what happens. So basically we go through what happens, to someone who's making a scene in Blender, all the problems that they face. Because when you're making a tutorial, you don't see any of that. So that's the point. What I'm going to be doing here. So what I wanted to do was make some sort of a World War One scene in Blender. So like sort of in the trenches almost. That'll be quite interesting. So to do that, I've already googled some reference photos and I've got some basic textures off cgtextures.com, I think it was. Yep. And so we'd have to go through all the internet and do all that. So at the moment, these are the reference photos here. We've just got two images of a trench, and they're not very good images, let's be honest, but they don't need to be. So we've got a trench here, which was what I want to design, and I want to sort of get this sort of feel as well over here. And then this one as well, we've got soldiers in the trenches, and there's barbed wire there and an explosion going off there. So I think it'd be really, really good visually to make something like this in Blender. So what I'm going to do is just try and get into it and see, and start out by just seeing what happens, see if I do well, see if it goes well, see if it doesn't. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing here. So hang on, making sure the stream's okay. That's what happens when you make a stream. You're paranoid about what happens if it breaks. Hang on. Live streaming. Right. Right, let's go. So first of all, we're going to switch to cycles, obviously, as that is the default renderer now, and I'm going to delete these main cubes as always. So what I want to do is get a plane for a start, and then, or do I not want to get a plane? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm going to start by adding a plane and see what happens here. I'm just going to drag it out a bit as well. And if it gets a bit laggy on Blender, that's because I'm streaming as well as doing all this as well. I noticed when I did some tests in the live stream, of some live stream tests, that when I go into rendered view, that sort of slows everything down a little bit, and that's because I'm not sure. Well, actually, yeah, it's because I'm using my CPU to render, because I don't know exactly how to get GPU render in here. I don't know if it's gone, but when I go on and look at people who are on Blender and I see that they're using this GPU, there's a setting over here that says this is a GPU render bit, and I don't have that setting here, or maybe I do, but I don't know which setting it is. So I just stuck to CPU. I mean, it's fine, so it should be fine. It just may be a little bit slow when it comes to going into rendered view. Like, well, we won't be that slow at the moment, will it? Because there's nothing here. So I want to get this across. So all the way, I want to make just a big long line where that's where the trench is going to be. It's going to be going along here. Then there's just going to be no man's land either side. That's what I want to do. So I guess that could work as the floor, if we have the floor of it here. And if I go and actually, yeah, I'm gonna work on the floor first. I'm gonna actually texture it and edit it and sculpt it as much as I want for now. So I want it to be rough and bumpy, so we're going to do some sculpting with the sculptor tool in Blender. So to do that, we need some vertices. So I'm going to go to sculpt. Now I've added some vertices, and I'm just going to, oh hello, I've got some symmetry lock. There we go, take it off. And I'm just going to do some drawing here with the sculptor tool. Make sure it's all working well here, like so. So it's all a bit bumpy, and then obviously we're gonna have to go to smooth shading just so it looks a little bit better. Yeah, that looks quite good. I'm actually gonna save it as well because we don't want it to crash at all. So I'm just gonna call it World War I scene and click enter. So what we've got here is our floor. Now I want to set up a little bit of just some basic lighting for a second, because I won't be able to see the texturing very much if we can't see it. So because if we've got no lights, so I'm just going to add a sun lamp, and I'm just going to drag it up here and then drag it across. This won't be the final lighting of the scene. Just like to let you know, because you want to spend a little bit more time lighting than what I just did then. That's the important bit. So right, and make sure the stream's okay. Okay, it's all fine. It's all fine. Every now and then something happens on this stream, this little stream tab thing. It's like it's a new part of YouTube. It says stream is good and healthy, and then all of a sudden it just goes, no, stream is bad. Stream is bad. What's happening? So I just need to make sure it's all okay. Right. Okay, that's fine. That's all fine. Right. So we're gonna the rendered view, and now we've got a little bit of a lighting setup here, just so I can see when I come to texture this what's going on. So as I do texture this, I'm just going to split the screen, and then go into the node editor here, click on this still, and then add a new texture. This is where basic texture layout to keep it all organized. So we're going to do and add a texture. This is going to be the main image, and then we'll use a mapping node so I can control exactly whatever I want with this texture. So I can control if it needs to be scaled up or down. I don't know why that's set to 0.7. And then if it needs rotating or it needs to change location. And then obviously we need to have a texture. Oh, and then UV. unwrapped, which is something I should really do now. I'm thinking, because it's pretty much flat, we'll see if we can get away with doing it where we just unwrap it. We just simply unwrap. Let's see if we can get away with that. I guess it'll do. It'll do. I don't want to spend... yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Because when something's like this, where you get like a bumpy texture here, you don't really need to unwrap it and see, mark all the seams and do all the really, really boring and hard and difficult stuff. So we just need to just unwrap it like that. I'm just keeping an eye on my stream, make sure keeps on saying unsupported resolution, which doesn't sound good, but I don't know what that means. Well, I'm assuming it means the resolution's unsupported. I don't care. It'll be fine. If it blows up, we'll know why. Okay. Anyway, back to the scene that I want to do. So it's obviously purple now. That's because we haven't actually got a texture. And now I've found some textures on online. So, wrong one. Go to textures. What was it? Dirt texture. Yes, dirt texture. Is it seamless? Yeah. It's sort of not. It's not really. That C doesn't make that much of a difference, really. It's not like it's blatantly just different images slapped onto the plane. So what I'm going to do is I need to make some more textures out of this so we can actually get a good image. So where is Crazy Bumps here? Oh, Jesus. Whoa. Right. Let's shut these things down. Right, Crazy Bump. We're going to go to open. I'm going to open from file. And we're going to go to wherever it is. It is CG Ninja. Through all these, because I'm very organised, all these textures, and we're going to go straight to this texture here. I'm going to select the shape. Right, I'm just going to set diffuse as the option as well, just so I can see what's going on. And judging by this, it looks pretty seamless, to be honest, the texture does. So if I go to box, yeah, it looks fine. I'm not going to mess around with all these settings, I'm just going to save them out. Because to be fair, you can just save these settings out as you want. So I'm going to save the normal, the displacement, and the specularity texture. Oops. Save. So now I have normal, specularity, and displacement. So I'm going to work on specular. So we're just going to duplicate these three here, just so we've got the texture as well. I'm just going to click on this image here and find where it was, spec. And then obviously, because a specular texture deals with the how the reflections of a text, we're going to use a glossy that texture there. So we're going to go and add a mix shader so we can mix the diffuse and the glossy together. And I'm just going to... Right, so here we go. This is what we want. I'm just going to set this to non-color data. So we don't actually use the color data. We just use the what's the word? What would the word be used? I'm not sure what word you'd use to describe. It's not the color of the texture. It's does, if that makes sense. So look, that will add reflections, and we don't know this yet because it's got nothing to reflect with. So let's just quickly add a cube, just so we can get an idea of the reflect. This to actually got some reflections here, obviously. So if I was to then go to, I'm going to set it to 0.5 for now. just so we can see what's going on. Just leave it, mess around with these anyway. So let's go now and do the bump mapping or the normal mapping. So we're going to duplicate these as well, these three nodes. I'm just going to bring them down here, and I'm going to go and open the image, and again they're the wrong ones. I'm going to go to dirt texture, I'm going to normal this time. We're going to add these in, so we're going to go to texture, no, we're going to go to vector normal map. I'm just going to add, then connect that to the displacement. And there's one thing that's actually really interesting that I didn't work out for a while. It is to disconnect this, you don't get, I don't know, is it getting bump mapping? Increase this. It doesn't make a difference that at all, it just makes it dark. So the reflections actually increase bump mapping. So if I go into this mode here and then set this to 0.5, we get some bump mapping here, like so. Here, because it's there's nothing actually reflecting on, which is not very useful at the moment, but when we actually get the scene around it, it'll get better. So what we're going to do now is we're going to leave the node editor for a bit, and we're going to go, oh hello, we're in texture view, there we go. So now we're going to do the displacement texture, which sort of made sculpting a little bit pointless actually. I shouldn't have really done that. So we're going to go to displace, and I'm going to apply a texture, makes it all look wonky and funny. Go into the texture panel and go to displace. We all know how to do this. And displacement. Right, it looks all funny at the moment. That's because I want to tone it down a bit, and I'm going to set the mapping to 9, just like it was with the on the mapping of on the nodes, and then we're just going to lower the strength down so it doesn't look so strange at 0.05, because we don't really want that much of a texture. Much of it doesn't need to really affect it at all in any way. Our texture, it looks okay. I mean, I'm not really going for photorealism, if we're perfectly honest. So I'm going to delete my cube, and I'm just going to say that this is the floor of our trench that we want here. Just so now we can get to looking at how to do the sides to actually build the trench. And I'm not sure I'm going to do this. I think I might do it by adding 2 cubes either side and then just elongating them across all the way up to the end. And that might be the best bet, I reckon, because yeah, it looks like it's going to be the best idea, because hang on a minute, stream. Oh, there we go. It's fine. Every now and then I just have to look at the stream and I go quiet, so sorry. Right. Yes. So I'm gonna try with cubes first. So I'm gonna go to cube. I think I might just sculpt one of them first, and then. I mean, we don't need to. I'm actually gonna duplicate this cube again, just so I've got like a reference point for the reflections and stuff. We don't actually need to have another texture for this cube. It can just be the same dirt texture that we had with the floor. Now what I want to do is I want to stretch this cube out to make sort of no man's land area. So if you see what we're doing here, we're gonna texture this, and then we're going to add the do this on the other side, and then we've got ourselves our trench. So I'm just going to make this nice and high, because the trenches were very high. If you look at images, if you look at images online, you'll notice that they're very high. So let's have a look at this. So at the moment it looks a bit strange. There's a couple of things. couple of things. Yeah, one, this hasn't been unwrapped, UV unwrapped, so we're gonna have to do that straight away. And I'm just going to quickly go in and go Smart UV project. That just unwraps it. Texture. I'm gonna call the other one floor texture. Just so we've got, you know, to fix what's wrong with this texture at the moment. Because firstly, the mapping is a bit too low. Even though it's on 9, you can really bump the team. For you people that can't. 18. Quite funny if I actually got that wrong. What we've got here. Do that. I could just sculpt it first and go into edit mode and just apply the flat texture to each surface. It saves having to unwrap it, I guess. That's a good idea, actually. That is a good idea. Yeah, I'm going to do that instead. Right. What I want to do here is I want to go to edit mode now. I'm just going to subdivide this a couple of times so we actually get some cuts here. And we're going to go into sculpt mode, and we're just going to do what we did with the floor. We're just going to go on, what brush is this? Clay strips. The brush, this just makes it all look rough and grungy. Like so. I also want to make it so that it sort of rounds off at the end. So at the moment, for now, I'm just going to keep on giving it like this, because No Man's Land wasn't a smooth place. It wasn't smooth tarmac. It was very rough. And the reason why I want to make a scene like this is because, I don't know, I just think when you see like war scenes in films and stuff like that, visually it looks amazing. So the film Stalingrad, for example, is a brilliant example. It really does look amazing, the CG for those films. I mean, this isn't World War II. Battle of Stalingrad was World War II. This is World War One. So I just think that it looks visually amazing. And even in games as well, I can remember, if anybody can remember back, playing it was a Call of Duty. It was basically one of the Call of Duty's zombies map, where it was in World War One. Oh, what have I done? Don't want to do that. And it looked brilliant. It looked visually brilliant. I mean, I think there were robots walking through as well. But you know, aside from that, historically it looked good, and just visually it looked good as well. So that's what I want to try and achieve here, which is what I'm doing. So if I just look at the stream for a second. So at the moment we're doing quite well. It looks all rough, and it looks very rough, obviously. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign the material to each side, which can be quite difficult considering that I don't know if the circle tool has gone now or if it's a different hotkey, but the circle tool used to be my best friend in when it came to doing this sort of stuff. Oh god, I pressed the wrong button. I was holding Control, not Shift. Right. I might have had to have, it might have been better if I did the sculpting after this, but it's alright. We can salvage this. So yeah, what I'm doing here, I've not come prepared for this scene. I've just thought at the top of my head, right, I want to do this scene, so I'm doing it. Oh, what have I done? I need to make sure. Oh, right, okay, so we're going to get rid of that. What? Edit mode. Get rid of that. Into edit mode. and I want to add a texture. No, that's a bad idea. What am I doing? Oh. Go out of edit mode. I want to add a texture. Go, and then add another texture. Go into edit mode, and then find this and click assign. I think that's how you do it. It's very complicated. So I'm just gonna go to viewport color. Yeah, look, there we go. Here it is here. So I'm gonna set that to, let's set it to the color it should be. So sort of browny. There we go. So now we've got this here. This might not be the most efficient way of doing this, by the way. I'm not an expert on how to everything and how to use Blender really, but you know, I try my best. Let's go now and do exactly the same thing. Let me go into the edit mode. This just saves me from having to UV unwrap it, because if there's one thing I hate in Blender, or in any 3D software for that matter, it's having to UV unwrap stuff. It doesn't matter if we actually accidentally get some of those or the other texture, because it's the same texture we're actually applying. So about there and about there. Oh, hello. Spin this round. Right. I also forgot to record this. I should have been. Oh, I'm so useless. Basically, what I was planning on doing was streaming, and the software, the encoding software that I have, allows me to click record on this as well. When I was going to upload these in parts, but I guess it's too late now. I'll do it next time. Right. Now we're going to apply this texture here. So this and assign. So now, what it does is it puts it on the top, which is the same as applying here, but it also applies the side separately to there. So now have two textures basically. It's a neat little trick. You can have it if you want. Don't you can use it. It's a brilliant trick. It saves you from having to unwrap everything. Now obviously the side of this is all just white. We need to be careful of that, but it's alright. It's like the shape of an Xbox almost. Right. Let's duplicate this now. I'm going to bring this up to here, and I'm just going to drag it around 180 degrees. So now it just makes it easier to so now what we've got is the start. I'm going to drag these up a little bit actually, of our trench scene here. If we see, I'm just going to save this because I don't want it to crash. That would not be good. As you can see, it's looking pretty terrible at the moment. I mean, the textures are okay, but obviously we've got nothing. So, I mean, you can see it, it's okay. It's not that bad, but HD is the way forward. Being able to have it because U doesn't work. So, I keep on putting my headphone in and I can hear myself. Right, what I'm going to do now is think. Well, at the moment this is a bit too short when it comes to a trench scene, so I'm just going to grab all of these objects and I'm just going to duplicate them. I'm even going to duplicate the cube, my test cube. So now we've got quite a long scene, and at the end I'm just going to put a. Actually, what I could do is I could duplicate one of these cubes again, and I'm just going to bring it around here. Minus 90 degrees, and I could just set it here like this, and now it looks like we've there's a corner on that side. So if I just save this and go into rendered view again, ending trench that goes all the way. Back in the day, they were quite long, the trenches. I wanted to really work on that, but at the moment. And checking the stream again. I will get better at doing these, making them a bit, making it so I don't check them so much. So this is the scene we've got at the moment. It looks okay. We're going to now. I want to do this in an order where, it's the most effective order possible. There's a couple of things we need to do first. First and foremost, we need to actually do the lighting, set up all the lighting properly. Because we've done the main scene now. It's only taken us 35 minutes to do the main scene. But I also want to add all the little bits and pieces that you have in here. They have like wooden planks that go along the top for walking. They have little lamps. I want this to be a nighttime scene. I want it to be at night, or at least nearly nighttime. So we'll have no main sun lamp. We're just going to go into this. I've also got this demo here. It's actually quite good. But we're going to be using the normal sky texture for now. And we're going to be setting it really low, so it's like a really evening almost. And then we're going to apply lamps here, so it's like so it looks as realistic as we can get it. So I'm just going to add a scene here. I'm just going to add a sky texture wherever the sky texture is, and I'm going to go into rendered view here. A bit longer. So now it's all very bright, which is not what we want. What does this do? Ground color that is reflected in the sky. Ooh, that's a new set. I don't think I've seen that setting. It's quite nice. Anyway, it seems to make it brighter, so we don't want that. We want it to be dark. I'm just gonna set that a little bit lower. So like this is perfect, because when we're looking at it from here, it looks dark, it looks grungy, it looks like the sun's about to go down, for example, which is what I want in this. So what I think I might do, I'm gonna finish this at around 40 minutes, because I think 40 minutes is quite a long time. I mean, I know people do it for hours and hours, but I think 40 minutes would be quite good. And then I'll end the stream next time, or maybe Monday or tomorrow on stream, and I'll carry on with this, and we'll go into a different layer and start building all the little bits. So I'm just going to save this here. That's about it for what we need to do. I mean, I can't really lights yet. Get an idea by adding some point lamps along the wall of this trench. So the colour of the point lamp has obviously got to be that colour. That's actually quite a good colour for it, actually. I'm just going to set it to though anyway. The lamps along the side to be cream coloured. Want the overall aspect of the scene to be a slightly blue tint, have slightly blue tint in it, so which will mean they'll complement very well with each other, warm and cold. But this isn't the final rendition of this scene, by the way. This is just me playing around with it, making sure, just on like this, but maybe a little bit darker. Yeah, so I want it like this, but maybe darker. And also, if I'm going to render this as an animation, I'd rather it should be more, which I can do. You can keyframe it, and we can go into the animation tab, which is something that very useful we could do. And if I'm making this as an animation, get some, maybe either do this, make some smoke either in here or in After Effects. We'll go into and make some smoke coming up from there, maybe and then we'll get in some sound effects and just add in some sound to it as well. That sounds That's a clip of a World War One scene, which would be very nice. So that's what I'm going to do. So for now, I'm just going to end the stream here, and we'll pick it up next time.